Okay, so to begin for today's session, I want to say Kwe, Anin Bojo, and welcome everyone to our third session of the KM Educator training as part of our collective efforts to improve the learning experience, enhance educator skills and knowledge. Actual and Canador have collaborated to create a free online training pilot program and guide. Our goal is to support K-12 teachers, other educators, and actual network members across Canada who are working with Indigenous students and communities in land-based education within the STEM and STEAM fields. While this training is grounded in Indigenous land-based knowledge of STEM, it is not meant to replace current local Indigenous training. Instead, it is meant to provide educators and actual network members with a more in-depth understanding of Indigenous STEM. The training grounds science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics in Indigenous ways of knowing, using experimental learning and live sharing circles with Indigenous knowledge keepers and other STEM practitioners. For introductions, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tammy Kaye-Dokis. I'm the coordinator of the Kikadaswan Mokassin STEAM program at Canada College. Today on call, we have Patty Shabert. Patty, if you like, you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm the manager of Indigenous and Business Relations with the First People Center at Canador College. And I support this program and Tammy and her team in carrying out this amazing work.
Thank you, Patty. And also we have Geraldine Noah. She will be doing the tech support for today. So managing the chat box and Q&A at the end. Yeah, and so I want to just basically do a quick overview of our weekly training. So in this week of the educator training, we're diving right into the Western direction, which is about action and influence. Here where we learn how to act and influence others, understand how individual and collective knowledge can lead to positive action and influence. So some of the topics that we are including will be included in this Western direction is self-care. So along the medicine wheel, we're looking at the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And then also responding to the impact of colonialism on Indigenous peoples. What are the best practices, trauma-informed approaches, and Indigenous mental health. As well, we're going to look at the 7th and 8th fire prophecies, the 7th generation principle surrounding sustainability and environmental stewardship. And then we're also going to look at the concept of well-being for all, including all ecosystems. So that's the training package moving into the Western direction. And just to answer a few of the common questions that I've been getting via email, the pre-recorded sessions of Dr. Pamela Toulouse and Dr. Kathy Absalon are uploaded now to the YouTube channel, and they are viewable. I'm going to be sending everyone those links so you can watch those. And so all registered participants will receive the links, including all the resources, PowerPoints, and everything that was shared over the last 2 sessions. So today, to start, I'm going to just bring up Kevin here. Got to find you, Kevin, so I could pin you. There you are. I'm going to pin you on here. All right. So today I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, and I'm hoping I could pronounce some of the words here in your language. So to begin, Dr. Kevin, I'll let you pronounce that afterwards. I don't want to bash it. So Dr. Kevin Lewis is a Plains Cree instructor, researcher, and writer. Dr. Lewis has worked with higher learning institutions within the prairie provinces of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta in the areas of Cree language development and instructional methodologies. His research interest includes language and policy development, second language teaching methodologies, teacher education programming, and environmental education. For the past 15 years, Dr. Lewis has been working with community schools in promoting land and language-based education, and is the founder of Gani Yasik cultural camps. Yeah, so I'm going to introduce, here we are, Kevin.
All right, miigwech. Kichi miigwech. And Anin and Atlantic Day, Tanse, Takio Tamskat Nan, you were Ginaskum Nan, what's up Nagisimuin. Even Nistanana, Nigani to get Nanasco Maunis, the Gaxiwat, Sitog, Simantu, Kutagishigo, Yawikuya, go up to ya, Minaya, Mioya on Samatna, Gisto. So I greet all of you and thank the Creator for another good day for us to see each other, and also sending you health and well-being from us here. And I'm actually joined by one of the directors who is also a co-founder of the Dynastic Culture Camps with my uncle here. So that's good that he had come along. So so you'll see how we privilege our elders, the knowledge, the prayers, the lodge keepers, privileging our languages. So it's functioning right here, right now, with him even just joining me to do this presentation and showing support and really trying to foster our languages and our ways of knowing, ways of being, and so. I guess greetings to everybody. And once things get traveling, we really like to eat indigenous food from all over Turtle Island. So possibly if we're in your neighborhood, make sure you pull out some of your good indigenous stash and feed us. And we'll sing for you, and we'll tell all sorts of stories for those good meals too. So that's our trade. So again, I'd like to thank, I guess, the organizers for doing what they're doing and really uplifting STEMs. I can't say enough about uplifting STEMs and our ways. And when I say our ways, the old ones, our ancestors, boy, they were so smart. They were so intelligent, because it doesn't matter if we're in lockdown or if we have to be separated. We still have prayer, we still have our smudge, and we even have this one guy at our camp right now, and he just walks by you. Oh, this smells like sigak, that's skunk. So those of you that know what I'm talking about, boy, they're using all the medicines and they're working. And those worked in those past pandemics, those past sicknesses that came across. They're still using those. And we kept them because those elders are so smart, and our ancestors are so smart, and we're still around. So our relatives. So again, science, technology, you have engineering, you have math, you have all these different ways of knowing. But what we did was we weaved them in such a beautiful way that are functioning right now in our classrooms. And if you're going to use STEMs, and I'm just going to throw the seed out there, do the entire year. Don't quit in the summertime. I know teachers need breaks, but maybe there's a different type of teacher that can be taught by us that focus on STEMs, right? That focus on the engineering. And here's one engineering feat that fascinates me, and it's this thing called the birch bark canoe. This canoe, this vessel, it floats. It's engineered for the ocean. It's engineered for rivers. It's engineered for rice harvesting. It's engineered for all the big Great Lakes over there. So we've done all the engineering that needs to be done, and we continue to do that. And it's please bring those old ways like bow and arrows. Not because we're going to be going back to bow and arrows, because but the idea of archery, but the story behind who that archer was, that first archer in our nations, and then how that's linked to that feast, that ceremonial feast, right? And when we have round dances in our area, we're actually asking that archer to come and bring our relatives to come dance with us, to come eat with us, to come sing with us, to bring healing, maybe bring a little bit of luck, but for sure bring themselves in spirit and come smoke with us, come enjoy, and come hang out, come dance, come have some fun. And then at the end of that ceremony, there's a go home song. And that archer, that spiritual archer, he goes, he's the last one. He's like, oh, okay, sorry to be the party pooper here, but we got, now we're going to go back to the spirit world. We're going to go back now. Let's all go. And then he's the last one to leave. And then he uses his spear or his arrow. And then he takes a little bit of that food, that spiritual food, and he takes it home to those people that couldn't make that ceremony that time. So so again, what? So again, those are, all of our nations have these different languages, these different teachings, but we can't forget, the velocity, the type of woods, the engineering that goes into our different types of woods that are all over Turtle Island, right? And here's the coolest thing. The archers, there's trading system, there's commerce involved. There's different types of woods that you heard this thing grows over there. And then all of a sudden, boom, this guy with those staves, that type of wood that you need, shows up. Or tobacco, right? Here's the tobacco trade. Those twisted tobacco. Oh, we want that over here. Now we're trying to grow our own tobacco. We're trying to become agriculturalists. We're trying to become, these bowers, and we're trying to become birch bark canoe builders. We're trying to become hide tanners, because it's humbling. All of that work is so humbling, and it's good for our spirit. It gives us identity. It gives us good minds. And then part of my presentation, I'm going to go through sort of all of this, I guess, right? So again, number one thing, if you can, all at once, okay, let's take just a couple of deep breaths. We've got to learn how to breathe, So in through the nose, and then exhale, right? And then this next breath in, hold it in, okay? Breathe in, hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale, right? We'll do that 2 more times. Breathe in, hold it in, exhale. 1 last time. Breathe in, hold it in, breathe out. Okay, so just breathing techniques and letting that grandfather wind do its job. All that oxygen that's going into our lungs, going into our bloodstream, going through Migoyapeohe. And I heard one of my uncles talk about this one time, and it was in a pipe ceremony, and he's like, he starts talking about this grandfather wind coming into his lungs and started going through his blood veins and cleaning his heart, and like that detail of a prayer. I'm like, oh, this guy has good Cree. So I was, those type of things. They prayed. They knew that clean air is good for us. They knew we needed clean air. That's the grandfather. There's all these different teachings on and where that one sits, around us. So again, I thank everybody for just breathing in and enjoying life, and then we're, in the perfect world, we'd be face to face possibly, but this actually expands our classrooms, right? We'll get there, but it expands the outreach of how many knowledge keepers that you have on your list. I want to take this program, right? So again, I'm going to share my screen, and I'll start introducing you to a little bit of the stuff that we're doing. And Tammy, do we have about an hour, or I can go till 12 and then I can take some questions? And
Okay.
I can't remember the timeline.
Okay, yeah, so you can go through your presentation if it takes you to 12. Yes. And then we'll take some questions after that. That's good.
Okay, so let's 12 my time, because I'm right in the middle of Turtle Island here. But so I'll I'll go till 12 my time, and then I'm going to turn off the camera and I'm going to move out of this room because I have to move out and into someplace else because there's something that's going to happen in this room that I'm in right at 12. But I'll go somewhere where I can answer the questions. Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So anyway, thank you for just accommodating, and thank you for everybody joining in. And if you can with your smartphones, take a picture of this. And this is basically our curriculum, and this is our website, and we continue to do this. It's functioning, and you'll see, we love the number 4. We love the 4-leggeds. We love the 4 directions. We're people of the 4 beings, I guess, or so we just love that number 4. And in here you have the realm of the stars, the sun, the moon, and those lodges that are up there. The star people are our relatives, and then below that is the flyers, those winged ones, those ducks, those delicious ducks, and then we have the plant beings, the plant people. Those are represented in the trees there, and then of course where we are with the 4-leggeds, we share this, and then below us the ground and the water. So that's our relatives. Those are our relatives, and those are the ones that we teach in our camps there. All right. So I was just this morning I was talking about Indian control over Indian education. And we still use this document at AFN. If you look at the AFN website, they still have this document. It was originally part of the red paper. And in the 70s, boy, those elders got together, and it was so nice for them to get together because they started talking about what should we teach these kids? What should we teach ourselves? What should we teach Kitsuamno, our relative that come across the waters? And they knew they were out there. They knew that there was a white race. They knew that there was a yellow race. They knew there was a black race, right? So those are all teachings that are there. And how much do we share with them? How much do we learn from them, right? Those are all open questions. Those are honest questions that they had there. And then so when we start asking ourselves these questions, well, let's teach our songs. And then when you start listening to those songs, they start telling about the sun. They start talking about the thunder beings. They start talking about the wind. They start talking about bear, the woman bear, the grandmother bear. They start talking about that buffalo, the relationship that we have with the horse, that beautiful animal called the wolf, how that wolf walked with one of our relatives and explored, fell on their face lots. There's funny stories, there's gross stories, there's adult stories, there's funny stories, right? But they're the way we pass on those types of teachings, and we call them here Atayukyuna. We call them Atayukyuna, and those are the ones that you hear in the sweats and you hear in the Sundance lodges and the horse dance lodges. But they're beautiful, and my worry is we're not sharing those enough with our own, and we need to record and use these devices and record our relatives and our elders, so we don't miss that path of not listening to everybody, right? So it's yeah, they're very good teachings, and governance, everything from harvesting, right? If you're going out and doing water sampling, for example, as a water keeper, wouldn't you want somebody to sing a water song and then put that steam out, on the ground and render a prayer? Maybe there's a pipe ceremony, and then you bring healing. You make that a medicine, right? And it'd be a mantu instead of just water, plain old water, right? And so I know on the in English they say water is life, but in Cree, like, it's just like saying the water spirit is life. It kind of doesn't make sense, but in our traditional way of viewing things, that's a relative. She's a spirit, and she is alive, right? And she needs to be acknowledged. That I don't know how we took it to become inanimate, where it's like, oh, that's just water, it's not even alive. But then you look at it and throw it under a microscope, and you start seeing all the organisms and all the beauty that and it's in its complexity, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, no, there's actually microorganisms that are in this water, this H2O. So again, our relatives were very intelligent. I wanted to start out with a little bit of like on your workbook that was sent out, there was some truth and reconciliation, like RTC stuff. I wanted to share, I also do work with Office of the Treaty Commissioner, and I look after their teaching treaties in the classroom. And I really like the model of creating treaty coaches where they can get all these resources that the office offer, because there are a lot of resources. And what we did in February was we tried to do this online, and it was a success. It was very good that we tried this. Because of COVID, we were wondering, how can we do this, right? We had to update dead links on some of the material, like the binders, because there's lesson plans, and I'll go through that. There's binders from kindergarten or nursery all the way to grade 12. There's lesson plans, there's resources that are age appropriate. And so we're looking at these two kits, and they're split up. There's treaty medals. We try to talk about, well, you see the map down here. Those are all peace and friendship treaties. What are, all the way to BC and Quebec, all these modern day treaties. So these are the things that we try to cover on there. And yeah, it's been a really, really good teaching environment, learning environment. We have phase 1 right now, and since February, since we tried this, there was 401 people that joined the 4 days, and we split it up into 4 days. I recommend the 4 days to anybody, because you start touching on so much more. Everything from the original friendship treaties, the Eastern treaties, all the way across to the modern day treaties, and then also like Quebec has different agreements in place, self-government agreements of the Yukon. You go through all of these, right? And these are our numbers. This is something that we updated. The commissioner, Mary Culbertson, and she's Anish. She's Anishinaabe Kwe, out of down south. I don't remember what, Kisakus, I think she's from, and but very a very wonderful leader and uplifting Indigenous women. Even before we had an AFN chief that's an Indigenous woman, right? So that's I just wanted to put that out there. If you want things done, get the Indigenous women in the front lines, and they'll make us work. They'll make us men work. And that's what they have at the office there. I see that they're really doers, movers, and shakers. And the reinvention, we tried Zoom. Zoom, we felt it was the best, and we filled up these classrooms. We went on and tried to create treaty coaches. Just give me a second here. Oh, yeah. So the treaty essentials, we call them TELs. They're really good. They're updated now, because there was some, like I said, a few dead links, and then also some elders that were in there that are not with us anymore, just to honor them, to make sure that we put late elder Danny Musqua, or so all those updates that we did. And then from the K to 6 lesson plans, they're units, they're ready to go. We teach the University of Saskatchewan student teachers all of this, to update them and to make sure that they understand how to teach about treaties, because they've been mandated since 2007 in Saskatchewan that everybody is to teach about treaties. And the commissioner, being that the office, the commissioners, I'll say, because I think she might be the 4th commissioner in that office, but they worked on these kits, and they have lesson plans, they have resources, they have websites, and all of them we've tried to update. And that's always an ongoing battle, because websites are people are creating websites right now. They're creating content right now, right? So it's forever building. It's it's organic. But the main thing that we saw, I think, was that it combated racism and also discrimination. And that's, these are lessons and resources that are going into the city schools, Catholic schools, public schools, little town Saskatchewan, on reserve Métis settlements. So they're mandated. Everybody's mandated to teach these, and I think it's good. It's a very constructive. And then the slogan, "We are all treaty people," right? We can't be just a one treaty partner. Treaties create two groups of people, maybe more. Some of the resources you'll see that there are, like I said, 2 kits. We go through worldviews, and in Saskatchewan we have Dene, we have Anish, also known as Soto, and we have Nakota, Lakota, Dakota, and then we have Cree, 3 dialects of Cree, and so that's Woodland Cree, Plains Cree, and Swampy Cree, the N dialect. So we try to cover all of those, and they're not full days, but there's enough information in there that you just kind of want to digest. And we found the 4 days to be very successful in terms of knowing the historical impacts, knowing about Indian residential schools, which is has always been a hot topic in our communities, but now the world, right? Now the world, I wanted to wear an orange shirt today. And I continue to wear orange shirts. I'm going to wear orange shirts all week, and they need to be seen. They need to be not hidden. They need to be openly, just be visible. So I'm starting to. Maybe I'll end up wearing an orange suit sometime. Who knows what's going to happen? But I never want people to forget that. Maybe orange is a new fashion. I don't know. But we're going to make it known that this is not going to happen again, and that this is not going to be erased in our history books, and it needs to be taught so it doesn't happen again to anybody, right? So again, wear your orange proud, and don't be shy about that. All right, so now the education part, health and well-being, right? We go all year round. And those old, sweet, old little hands that you see at the bottom right-hand corner, that's late Sally Whitefish. Those are her hands. And we were at first, we were picking medicines. We had mint, we had muskeg tea, we had all these different medicines that were growing around in where we are. And it's a pretty clean place. And she said, "You have to drink these teas. You don't wait till you drink these teas when you're sick. You have to drink them all the way through and just kind of rotate them. And here, this is how you do it." So she's telling us, this is coming from an old Tsapan. And this old lady was about 86 or 87 at the time. And I think she lived to in her early 90s. She left us. I was listening a little while ago that she had left us here, but her teachings carry on. It's our curriculum. Every camp we have mint tea. We were just picking mint tea yesterday, and then we come across some other different medicines. So you're always kind of scanning, right? You're always scanning, and all of a sudden we found sweetgrass. We're like, whoa, that's a good find while you're out there, And you can probably pick it already. I'm saying you can pick it already in our area anyways, but always have a lookout. Those they're flowering different areas, different regions. And I like using apps. And I'll mention it here, if there's any iPhone users, this is what we did with our kids this year. They mapped out our traditional territory by using Picture This app. And Picture This, and I'm not sponsored by iPhone or Apple, but it is an Apple app. But Picture This will take a picture of any, let's say plantain, or it could be this mint, or that muskeg tea that this lady's holding. You take a picture of that, and it's going to show you Labrador tea, and this is the Latin name. What it misses is what is the Dene name? What is the Cree name? What is the Soto or Ojibwe name? What is the, so those types of names. What's the Mi'kmaq name for this? We then take that data and we go spend time with our elders, and they say, okay, what do you use this for? Do you know the Cree name for this one? And they're like, oh yes, that's this, and that's Maskihopoga. And then they start telling you what the use for is, right? The use. So we start caring and instilling care and stewardship with those kids, because they're like, hey, you can't be throwing garbage there. That's our tea. We're drinking that tea, So again, it's built right in there. And that's using technology, using those kids, because they love technology. They love those little iPads or smart tablets, and taking pictures, and visiting Japan and doing their homework and taking it home, and then sharing that information, right? So we're creating land users, and we just landed a climate change grant, and that's part of that grant. It was so fun, because those kids they'll never forget where they took those medicines from. And they're going to teach their kids, just like my Japan taught me, and my Gugum taught me, and continues to teach me. So that's what's going to happen there. We're testament of that. It works. It does work. It's not my model. It's our model. It's an old Indigenous model. So it's I really want to show you guys that it's in your communities, and you just have to go out, search for it. And if, I know there's 60 schools, but I know there's residential school, and there's disconnect like that. If you can't find family members that can do this, like, contact us, or contact somebody that's near you, and visit them. Take a language program, an Indigenous language program, if you can, and through the languages they'll show you. Here's this one. You'll see there's different names, and I won't say this guy's name because it's summertime. I respect him, but this is our older brother. We call him our older brother. And then across to you'll see Nanabuju, Wanabuju, or Gluskapu, Shernape. Right. So these are all over the place. These healers, these people that went and explored. The ones that teach us resiliency are these ones here. These are the first ones that fell flat on their face. They were picking their butt, and there was a scab, and then all of a sudden that scab, he found out that it was his scab from his bum, and he throws it, and here it's chaga, right? So it's like there's a whole story, a funny story on it, and it's so funny because everybody the kids get grossed out, and they're just intrigued about it, and then some of the adults will laugh, because it's such a funny story. But then the medicine people, they'll be like, oh, okay, the layered teachings are in there. And they start looking deeper into what that actual chug is. So they do their science, right? They do the way they do it, the way we do it. So there's layered teachings, and there's audiences. The kids are going to pick something up from every story. The men are going to pick up something different. The women are going to pick up something. The elders are going to pick up something. And then lastly, the medicine people are going to pick up something from all of those sacred stories. So again, get out there and be the researcher, be the one that explores. And sometimes you get denied. Sometimes they'll say, no, you can't record this. But I think the main thing is for them to be heard. Try to internalize them, try to learn them, so you don't need that technology. Strengthen your mind and tell those stories. Share them. Keep them sacred and not secret. Whole brain experience, and we just the breathing technique that we just did there. We're trying to figure out this way of when we're in fight or flight mode, when we're in that place where we're triggered, where we just want to get the heck out of there, or fight or freeze, whatever it is, right? And to work out into the outer realm of the brain where creativity happens, where song happens, where complex thought happens. That's what we're doing with our students, and that's what we're doing with ourselves continuously. And this reset that we did in this little bug, this mantus, we call it the mantus. It's a little god. This little god put the two-leggeds on their knees, and we had to separate. We had to put on masks. We had to isolate. We had to miss our family members. We had to be by ourselves. We had to meditate. We had to pray. We had to cry. We had, some of us got so sick that we lost people in this time. But this little god Manchu, so this tiny little micro COVID, it took us to that fight or flight mode. And it was really funny because, well, I shouldn't say funny, but it was unique to see this happen and continuously unfold, because there's variants out there and stuff, but there's no doom and gloom. We don't have doom and gloom. The elders don't preach doom and gloom. It's like, no, we've got medicines. We've got ways to deal with this thing. If you decide to take the vaccine, well, take the skunk juice on top of that too, if you want to, or take those different medicines that are out there in your region, and take those on top of that, So again, the scientists that are putting together the vaccines, I always say these aren't stupid people. They're not conspiracy theorists. They're not, they're really working hard daily, hourly, every minute to try to combat this new COVID and the strains that are going around, right? So again, a way to get away from that toxic time of being in that brainstem, that fight or flight mode, and you developing that serotonin that's not good for us. A little bit is okay, but if it's building up, you're just eventually going to get sick. You're going to get depressed. You're going to go, feel low. You're down, but the only way to get out of there is breathing, tapping, smudging, pulling out our drums, pulling out our ceremonies, the self-care, the physical activity like yoga. Yoga doesn't need that much space, and I do yoga, and it's good for my back. But running, picking berries, hiking, paddling, swimming. Right now it's summertime in Canada. You have the outdoors. Let that sun heal you. Let that vitamin D, to be released. Let those endorphins burn off those negative chemicals that are stored up, and get out in that mathematical brain side of the cortex. Think about learning a language, learn a new tune, start daydream lots, live in that area. And that's what we're trying to promote in our land-based programming, and that's what happens. So here's a little bit more of the stuff that happens. Like, let's say hide tanning. I talked about it earlier. Holy man, if you want to get out of your fight or flight mode, tan a hide, or make a drum or a rattle, and you'll see it'll automatically get you out to the neocortex, and it's just and that's the feel good side of your mind. And then going back and forth, left brain, right brain, they're all mapped out. But in the summertime, right now, the kids yesterday they were mountain biking and they're canoeing. That was their programming yesterday. Today they're doing hiking and wilderness first aid along with their parents. So in the summertime, what I'm suggesting, and this is the seed that I'm putting out, don't stop teaching, don't stop the school in the summertime. We're following that Munyao agricultural model that doesn't work for us. What works for us is when we're going out there and exploring, when we're going out there touching the water, when we're going out there, if you're terrified of water, maybe go to the, go wade in the water, go possibly just walk by the shore. There's all these different things that are out there. Berries or Saskatoons in our area are starting to bloom. Those good free teas that are out there. Of course, there's protocol, but learn those protocols to pick that tea, to pick that medicine, so you can stock up for the winter time, right? they're hiking. What else were they doing? We did swimming lessons, and that has to do with buoyancy, that has to do with velocity, that has to do with the water, you know, all the sciences of water. So again, it's pretty complex when you start looking at the summertime. And what we noticed at home is when we brought in our elders at the beginning, they were really hesitant on coming to the school because it was cold. It was winter. It was like, no way, there's ice. I'm going to slip and I'm going to hurt myself. So it was really like pulling teeth to bring the elders into the school because the school was cold. They're not used to teaching 30 kids, 40 kids, or a gymnasium of students. They know how to teach one-on-one, two-on-one. And then so that's why we took on the summer, because in the summertime you'll see your chapan, your gugum, your mushroom, they're out and about, they're outside, they're enjoying the summer, they're really loving, you know, sitting outside and just being out in the warmth, right? Healthy, breathing in that good air that these trees release, right? So again, summertime, we always say our elders are our knowledge keepers, they're our professors, they're our libraries, and then what do we do as Indigenous people? We let our kids go and we don't even connect them with our you know, so we're kind of like hypocritical a little bit. So we have to somehow connect them. We have to take them to those Sundance lodges. We have to take them to those Medewan lodges. We have to take them to those sacred ceremonies, sacred spots, and do that connection. And then of course there's this, and this was Maslow's hierarchy, which was really a Blackfoot Sundance, and there's lots of stuff on there on that. But this is basically how you would assess your programs, how assess yourself. And then there's these words that are starting to come out again. For the non-Indigenous side, they have natural deficit disorder, ecological education, and then tech, right? They have things like that are out there. So these are, I just put these on for people that might want to write proposals in your area. These are good words to use. Tech is kihteg, and these are two. There's Sally right here in the green with the green ribbons. Oh, I miss her so much. And then this is late Ernest Piche. I miss him so much too. And he was such a big. These two were big in our at the beginning of our programming. They were so loving and so caring, and they just wanted the best for our kids. And we try to carry that on. This was my doctoral program, and this is actually 20 years now. 20 years of doing this type of programming. This fall, it'll be 20 years. So 13 years of reconnecting. It should be 19, turning 20 in the fall. And where we started was, we started as a uskapiusak, and we're just wanting to teach our boys. And then the girls tapped us on the shoulder and they're like, no, we want to learn that too. So we had to change the whole thing, ask Google, hey, the girls want to learn. They want to learn this. And then she's like sitting there by our garden. She goes, and so she started explaining who lived there, who was from there, and all these beautiful things. And she was laying out the curriculum. She was doing it all in the language. It was so beautiful. And it was easy to say, oh, well, this is what they did here. Why don't we continue to do that, And so the girls were included. There was no more Uskapiusak, but it became Kanyasik. And that's it's still there. And I openly invite everybody to come visit us, visit our website. Try to book in a time. We're creating guides right now. We're doing, like, there's a garden. That's where she was standing, actually. She was looking towards the lake, and that's where she pointed it out. Okay. So we do snaring, springtime, summertime, we're doing gardening, harvesting. So all of these different things, tapping trees. This was awesome. And birch trees specifically, but you have maple trees out towards the east. Already in Manitoba, you already have trees there that are sugar trees, maple trees that are left there from the last ice age. And then we have stories about Ice Age as well, right? We have lodges that tell those songs and stories. So again, we moved south, we moved east, but then we moved back home, Giwitnok, towards our home. So right now, this is what we're doing right now. We're starting to figure out, okay, we got to start preparing ourselves. We got to start getting stronger. We got to eat these things. We have to pick these things. We have to dry these things, right? So there's lots of different stuff that are happening, and we do have an amazing smokehouse now. And again, the power of writing things down, I can't stress that enough. Look at this on the last bottom bullet says make a good smokehouse. We're telling people, if you're going to go land-based, make sure there's something that you can use to flavor, using smoke, of course, your fish or your meat or your geese or anything smoke flavor is always such a treat. For even hide tanning, right? You can use that building for that. So there's many uses for that. And what I like about that is it's kind of like the downtime. You've done the fishing, you've done the hunting. Now you're sitting there carefully doing complex incisions into this protein that's gonna make you strong. That's gonna these healthy fats, this bone marrow. You're cutting all of those, and in the science thing, they're in incisions, but you're making it flavorful. You're making chefs. You're making indigenous chefs, and these people that can make and expand the palate into these amazing levels. So what I'll do is I'm going to keep on talking, but I'm going to move and hopefully not lose anything. And I'm just going to transition because I want to talk a little bit more, and I'll be just down the hallway here. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
All right.
Kevin, we'll wait for that. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of discussion happening inside the chat box, and that's amazing to see. Some of the questions we haven't been able to get to instantly, but we will respond to those. Any of the resources that's being shared today, Kevin's PowerPoint, any additional resources around the treaties, we will share those as well.
All right. Yeah, so I'm just, oh, sweet. It's getting me all over the place, this card I got. All right, so I'm gonna sit here. All right, so the summer, here's a little more expansion on the summer programming. We do kayak and canoeing programming, and we become teachers, instructors through Paddle Canada. And we like that because the skill set of, we live right by water, right? We live right by the lake, and there's lots of different little lakes all over Canada and Turtle Island, from coast to coast to coast. And that's our, all of our traditional territory. So we need to explore, we need to visit those sacred spots. We need to talk about them. We need to start reclaiming paddling. We need to start using our traditional names on the maps. Because this is always a discussion that I always have is like, okay, yes, there's maps, but like, where are all these dead white people that are named? That's not Bronson Lake, that's Mosharampit, So it's kind of like, we're like, what the heck? Who are these people, right? Are these old veterans? They're not our veterans, or they're Canadian maybe, but they're like, that's not the name of that lake. That's, that's or that's Sukskawaisi, So all these islands and these mapping, it's such a fun time to explore those original names. And I think we have an office of the Office of Treaty Commissioner, yes, but we have a new office that was just launched like 2 weeks ago, probably from now, and that's that Indigenous language office, and there we have a commissioner, and we have 3 directors that work, to work on revitalizing our languages. And locally, it's like, I think his last name is Ignis, I think Commissioner Ignis. And our local one that we know, and I know her personally, and she's such a amazing, like works tirelessly, Joan Grey Eyes. So these directors, there's three of them. There's Métis, Inuit, and First Nation director, and then of course the commissioner, right? So that's based on the Indigenous Language Act of Canada and its law. They have got an office, they're establishing it, they have positions, they've been selected, and they're there. So work with them, keep an eye on them, let's pray for them. And of course, like beautiful people like Mary Simon, like we have a GG, Governor General. So all these different things are moving into a place where more healing is gonna come out of this. If we have women leaders, watch how nurturing they are, just naturally nurturing. And that's what we need right now for all of Canada, especially with all of the first 215 that were found, those remains, and they're still looking. Now we went through Paddle Canada because we liked their skill sets. It was there. We promote them. They have good things, but we add the Indigenous side of things, and we just we make it extra special just by adding the Indigenous flavor. Archery program, swimming programs, traditional parenting workshop, that happened in 2014, where the elders were saying, this is what you teach. This is the language that you teach. This is what you have to do. Getting that recorded and giving us of the mandate of developing land-based programming, language programming, and cultural programming. So we have it documented. And then we were just playing around with this one in the future, and a lot of them they are grandmothers and grandfathers, but workshops on how to be a supportive grandmother and grandfather because of Indian residential schools, because of the 60s scoop, because of all these different historical impacts that all of us went through, right? And Canada, the rest of Canada, they're just starting to find these things out. They're like, what? You couldn't go to the next reserve because of the pass system? Or, so all of these different things are starting to finally come out. And we're finding it that if you educate and use education, then you start realizing, okay, I see why that person is an alcoholic. I see why that East Hastings is so, there's a lot of Aboriginal people in there. I see why there's so many Indigenous men and women that are incarcerated. They're populated because we've been beat up, we've been kicked around, we've been, laws were against us, policies were against us. The Indian Act is there that chains us, and then we're working through this. We're trying to do this, right? But it's again, it's going to need allyship. It's going to need uncomfortable talks. It's going to need absolute truth, and we're going to have to go through this together to move on. And it's pretty exciting to me. It is. And again, for those, this is our curriculum. These are our teachers. Fall, canning, smoking. We're getting ready for our Canadian winter, right? So we're hanging meat. We're making sure that the wood's piled up. We're making sure that the skidoos are ready to go. Our dogs, are we training them up? Are they getting ready? Because we do dog sledding, and some people would call that canine therapy. But like when you're starting to talk about the relationship between what we had with the wolf, like Wilfred Buck has a beautiful book out there, and he works with NASA. He talks about the star people and all of these different ways of astrology, that our astrology, or our knowledge of the stars and where we come from, and where we go, and all these beautiful stories he's got there. That's included in here. That's our curriculum. And then of course, wintertime, as Canadians, we are blessed with so many different seasons. And, it's a shame just to be inside all the time. We're kind of almost forced by the winter thunderbirds to say, hey, we're going to make it snow, and it's coming, and enjoy that warm weather right now. So again, get out there, right now, because remember, there's a winter. And if you're a winter baby, you absolutely love winter. If you're a fall baby, you're kind of like a fall. You love the fall colors, and so all of these different things, depending on when you're born, see, if you're a summer baby, you're in the lake, you're in the water, you're at the beach, you know. So again, it's beautiful to have those teachings, and they're still out there. These are the ones that I wanted to focus on a little bit here. Okay, so there's things that'll combat depression. There's things that'll promote love, that'll cause you to feel anxiety, even schizophrenia or this happy feeling, right? And these are the chemicals that we're dealing with right now in our minds. And what I found was if you start going outside, if you start going for walks, if you start doing yoga, if you start practicing meditation, if you start, and thank you for smudging, by the way, earlier, Tammy, that our medicines, they put us in a good spot. They clean the air. And like you can go into the science of what those little particles do, right? In terms of, and different types of plants, different types of sages, different types of climates that these places are, these sages that they're picked, right? But they can release anxiety. They could start leveling off these different dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, like all of this, these hormones, these endorphins that are in our bodies, the good hormones to be released. After a good workout, we used to play hockey. We played hockey all over the place. And what if it's lacrosse, or if you're a runner or a walker or a hiker, after a good workout, you just feel amazing. It's like just releasing those endorphins that make you feel good and satisfied. You did something, you accomplished something, and then it'll lead to a nice, amazing, beautiful sleep, right? So, and it all boils down to all these crazy chemicals that are inside our brain, and we got to teach these to our kids and to our communities. We have to teach about these, how to balance them. And if all of a sudden, like, I am not scared of snakes, but when I get startled by a snake, I'm in fight or flight mode. All of a sudden, boy, all my epinephrine, skyrockets, and I'm like trying to kick or fight or scream but then you kind of calm down. But again, it's that brain science, and how do you get yourself away from that? And a lot of us right now, like I said, we need to do that tapping. We need to smudge. We need to sing. We need to pray. So all those good chemicals are taken care of. Additional programming, we do ceremonies, and this is something that is close to our hearts. And let's say feast food, if there's moose nose, or if there's moose meat or fish or berries, or that healthy fat, those healthy fats that are there, those teas that are, to try to focus on that one, that's good for us. That'll combat obesity. That'll combat diabetes, right? To eat right and to also harvest in clean places. So again, that's the silent killer in our community, is like diabetes. Like we're losing so many people that we love and that are dear to our hearts, that we want to combat that. So again, these are written in Cree, but basically there are ceremonies, there are elders, there are lodges, but also the harvesting that's done to nourish our bodies and our minds and our spirits. Expedition styles. I love expedition styles, multi-day styles, and you can do this in single day. Of course, you can just have a base camp and then head out across the lake. And then where this birch bark canoe is pointing, that's where we were harvesting yesterday. And we found some rabbit root, and we found some other stuff over there. Sweetgrass is already ready to be pulled on that side on the shores. Mint is so nice there already. It's already growing. But winter travel, dog sledding adventures, trapping, snowshoeing, making quinces, canning and preserving our foods. And what I found was, and shout out to these Indigenous chefs. We have Jennifer Lassard, who's from Wanaskewin Heritage Park in Saskatoon. You have Pipi Cuisine, Scott Eiserhoff, who's Indigenous. They're both Indigenous, Métis, and they're doing phenomenal things. James Willier out of Northern Alberta, Andrew, he's a chef from way up north too, and he's in the camps. Professional chefs that are making ducks taste phenomenal, making fish taste phenomenal, making salads from edibles, that are out there, that are wild, that were a part of our diet, but because McDonald's is there and KFC is there, it is tasty. Their food is tasty, but when you start going Indigenous and have Indigenous harvesters and them putting their magic on that, it is nourishing and it's confidence, and it's like, what? You can make a fish taste like this? Usually I throw this fish away, so there's all these different things, that sausages that they can make, and so I just had a crane. I didn't know you could crane, and that was the first time I ate it, but a little bit of spice, a little bit of ingenuity, and and here's something that's unforgettable. I'm like, I can't wait to have it again. That goose, you can make goose taste like that, and they're all over the place, and they only come a certain time of year. And again, this is a moose. This is a moose harvested by my niece Tao, and this is my dad's there with the saw, and they're dissecting this thing. And there's ways where you can do it with a knife, and we've done it with a knife when we're way up and about, but because this was a little closer, we had it on camp. Our garden is to the right, so we just harvested it right there. And people are like, "How do you cut this? How do you do this?" And if you have a saw, you can use a saw. If you have a knife, well, you're going to use a knife. If you have an axe, there's a tool, right? So, and it was funny because this particular photo we did with a food handling course, and it was like blew that food handling course out of the water. It was nice to see it, but it was nice to add to it. There's our garden right there. There's some of our seeds we've been gathering. And then of course, along with the programming, our immersion students that are taking half-time the land-based programming and the Cree immersion, what is it called again? The Cree Academy of Excellence. Cree That's what it's called, and you'll see it on our website. But it's we teach them financial literacy, right? We teach them to collect seeds. We collect, knowledge from these knowledge holders right here. You have site preparation. You're looking a year ahead. Did this work? How did this plant work here? And look at how tall these sunflowers are. It's just amazing what had happened. Sowing indoors. Winter Canada, you're not going to be outside all the time. Well, you got sewing, you got different things that you can do. Ribbon shirts, ribbon skirts, ribbon everything that you can create. Beaver mitts, reviving our furs, making trappers, creating sustainable trapping techniques, and that's the best fur. It's funny that and maybe somebody's working with Canada Goose here, but they just took away so many livelihoods by going to plastic fur, fake fur on their, and Canada Goose has amazing jackets. They're very warm. Like I wear a Canada Goose but I put real fur, like wolf fur, Wolverine fur on my ruff because we're out there in the elements, and guys, that's what they had because the wolf was so amazing in those -30, -40 temperatures, and it doesn't ice up. And there's a whole bunch of science to that as well. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there. The design, task-based learning, making our foods palatable, learning by looking, right? Not everybody is being hands-on. They'll sit back for a little while, but in time, they're going to be given that knife to cut that fish. In time, they're going to be saying, "Hey, grab that pole. We're going to put up a teepee, or that, you know, so they're always looking all year round. There's so many different things to do. Ice fishing, people from warmer temperatures, southern hemisphere type of people, our relatives down there, they can't believe people can walk on water. Well, here's us Cree, we've been walking in Ojibwe, and you know, all of us Canadians, we walk on water. It's frozen, but we walk on water. But this is us, and the nets, stinging nettle locally. We used to make nets, and that's a whole entire project itself. If you want natural material, go look for those, you know, different cordages that we made. Ice fishing, you know, winter survival skills, all of these different things. Snaring, the old snares, the new snares. You know, so these are tracking. You know, and part of it too is like, and this was something that happened locally. We lost one of our students, and what had happened there was we lost him due to exposure. And it was winter time, and my dad questioned me. He's like, and I was a vice principal at our local school at the time, and he said, and it was an open-ended question, but he was telling the truth. He said, "What are you guys teaching in the school? Is that really worth what you guys are teaching when you have a youth here that passed because of exposure, he froze to death? Are you guys teaching the right thing?" And then right there, he punched me. It felt like he punched me in the heart and punched me in the stomach, and I was like, yes, I needed that. You know, I needed that directive from him, because he's an elder, and he's a trapper, he's a hunter. He was the one that taught me all those skills, and for him to be saying that to me, it really shifted my lens to look at our education system and say, what if this happens again? You know, are we going to still continue teaching what we're teaching, or can we teach some of those skills that our elders are wanting us to teach? How to make a fire in the winter time, blow a tire in the winter time or in the fall time, in the middle of nowhere somewhere. You know, how long are you going to be there till somebody possibly comes? And we're in remote Saskatchewan, right? So there's no cell service there. So this is why, you know, we're focusing on a lot of these teaching on the lake. Trapping, you know, and if you want the warmest mitts in the world, beaver, right? Warmest mitts ever. Doesn't matter if it's 40 below. You put that beaver on, and you learn how to sew. You learn how to tan. It's so much work. All these different types of fish that are out there. Dog sledding, you know, we hook them up, you know, and then we just don't give you rides. We say, well, here's this team we've trained up, they're ready to go, hop on, and if you tip, don't let go of the sled, or else you have to do the walk of shame, right? And so they're trained up, and it's been amazing for the people. I know there's some people that are in here that have joined us at our camp, but these are dogs, and like, if my satisfaction is if we can get dog food paid for, a little bit of food paid for, I'm happy to share whatever. But like, it's these have been in our program for 16 years now, I'd say. Feeding the dogs, you know, learning how to take care of them, giving them the top food, the top nutrition as possible. Animal husbandry, and there's equine therapy as well, horse therapy. We have a horse lodge. So we have a guy on staff that we're going to be working with in the future. He just got certified with equine therapy. So again, classroom setting, we still teach math, we still teach sciences, we still teach English, but we have a lot of Cree that's being taught, and a lot of our engineering, like moose calls, you know, snowshoes, toboggans, the winter one, we're teaching, you know, where the heart is, where the liver is, how to skin these. And lastly, I want to focus on and just bring the awareness up. I guess I work for the Office of the Treaty Commissioner, but I also work for the University of Saskatchewan, and this is the program that I run. It's an Indigenous language certificate. And if you have a language certificate program in your area, please go and take it. You know, learn Inuktitut, learn Mi'kmaq, learn all of those stories, Innu, Cree, all of those beautiful language, Shuswap, they're all beautiful languages. We have to learn them, and we need more programming like this. So this is just something that we have. It's 10 courses, and we mandated. It was a mandate by ITEP elders and the Saskatchewan ministry. This is kind of like an after degree program. There's lots of them out there. If you're in Alberta, you have lots of different programs in Alberta, Saskatchewan, same thing, Manitoba, same thing, and it's growing, and hopefully it grows. The part of curriculum studies, and thank goodness for them. They're pretty good people. There's 10 courses that we look at language, root word method, all, hats off to those Mohawks too. I went to go visit some of their schools, the Freedom School, and like they're in the middle of the city, and there's like is like with technology, because there's so much English in remote Saskatchewan, and I couldn't imagine how strong those Anishinaabe or whoever lives by a metropolis keep on going and because the growth is happening in immersion programming. There should be immersion programs of all our Indigenous languages all over the place. We need them. So that's my contact information, and that's my cell. Of course, you can text, you can email us, OTC, Kanyasa Culture Camps. That's my personal email. If you guys ever want to come, if you're in the area and you want to book maybe an instructor's class or whatever it is, special interest groups, we're there and waiting. More of this needs to happen, and I'm looking forward to actually visiting some camps out in Ontario and even further in Nova Scotia and that way. So hi, Tamskat now, and I'll open it up maybe for a few questions.